The anime tells about Shibata Genzu, a professional wrestler. Apart from being a wrestler, he is also an animal lover and has dreams of opening a pet shop. He loves all kinds of animals. In the final match for the title of the strongest wrestler, Genzo suddenly disappears from the ring. Apparently, he is summoned to another world, where he is told to become a hero and also defeat strong monsters. However, knowing the monsters are animal beasts, he cannot accept the duty to kill them, and he runs away from the castle into the city. In a stadium, the host announces the match for the World Championship title between Animal Max and Macadamian Ogre, also known as Mao, will start soon. Genzo is preparing for the fight in his room and hopes to win to complete the first chapter of his life and then start the second chapter. His manager Big Saigo enters, but Genzo asks him to not interrupt him. Big Saigo asks what he will do after reaching this height of becoming the champion, and is guessing he will move to other fighting sports. Genzo continues his monologue and says that his second chapter will be about he living with the animals he loves and opening a pet shop, and then heads towards the ring. On the ring, he starts fighting Mao and eventually gets on the top rope. As he jumps, along with his pet Hirohuki, he disappears and gets teleported to a different time and place. There, he wonders if this is a trick from Big Saigo, but meets Princess Altina Elgard Radis, who refers to him as Hero, and asks him to help them defeat the evil beasts and the Demon King. Hearing that, he gets behind her, grabs her, and does a suplex, knocking her out. The guards turn against him. He realizes he may have gone too far and covers the princess with his cape, but that annoys the guards even more, and he is forced to escape from them. Walking in town, he wants to ask where he is, but people run away from him. He realizes it must be due to wearing a mask, and he removes it, but the crowd starts calling him a pervert as he only wears his boxers. As he walks around, he still isn't able to figure anything and tells Hirohuki he will find him food for the night. He gets approached by Misha and Wolfgang, who intend to sell Hirohuki. As Genzo sees Misha, he gets excited that she has animal ears, but then sees Wolfgang and gets even more excited. Seeing his scary, excited face, they try to leave, but Genzo tackles Wolfgang and starts rubbing his face in his chest and sniffing it. They aren't able to remove him from Wolfgang, and as he keeps rubbing and scratching his chest, felt so good that was defeated. Genzo then turns towards Misha, but in that moment hears a girl crying and not wanting to be sold, but is willing if they are going to feed her. As he looks, he sees she has wolf ears and gets really excited. He faces Edgar, the one who is about to sell Shigeru, and Misha warns him that Genzo is a pervert. Genzo explains he isn't a pervert and that he is just a man who loves animals. Not knowing Edgar's intention of bringing Shigeru, he thinks Edgar is a bad person for making the wolf girl cry. Genzo goes to Edgar and slams him. Misha and Wolfgang help him get up and start leaving. Seeing her go, Genzo realizes he didn't pet Misha and heads her way. But as Shigeru thanks him, he stops and goes to talk to her. He thinks she's going to be sold as a slave, but Shigeru explains it is due to her borrowing money from him and not returning it, and she made an agreement with him to sell her if she doesn't return the money. Shigeru takes Genzo to a hunter guild so they can make some money. As he meets the master of the guild, Genzo explains how much he loves animals. The master wonders what to do, but then receives news of Cerberuses attacking, and hearing that, Genzo gets excited and goes to see them. As they reach the Cerberuses, Genzo sees their 3 heads and gets happy. He then charges them and pins him. He starts playing with them and manages to tame them. Two guild members are shocked to see Genzo, who managed to master the beast empty-handed. Back at the guild, they receive a good reward for the Cerberuses. Shigeru then uses the money to buy him clothes and pay the rent for their inn. As Shigeru asks him what he will do, Genzo tells her that he wants to make people understand how good the demon beasts are and that they can understand each other. Genzo goes on to explain how he will make everyone befriend demon beasts. However, he hears people around him complaining about the monster's attack and intends to take revenge. Genzo says he will open a pet shop. Although Shigeru thinks it is a good idea, she actually doesn't know what he means. Genzo explains that he will raise the demon beasts and train them so they can live with humans. Shigeru is a bit skeptical, but hearing that he will be taking on quests related to beasts to receive the reward, she gets interested and decides to help him. Genzo is wondering what quest to take on and sees a book that contains beast information. A fellow member explains that the book contains information about demon beasts and how to defeat them, and says that Genzo won't need the information because of his action of defeating Cerberuses the other day, and he earns the nickname Demon Beast Killer. Genzo gets angry and punches him, as he is an animal wrestler, not a beast killer. Since Genzo needs money quickly to get Pet Shop, they choose the biggest reward quest of defeating a salamander. Keijiro, the guild's strongest man, offers to join his party, and they could split the reward as they kill the salamander. Hearing that, Genzo grabs him and slams him into the wall, telling him to never say something stupid like that again. Before going out, Shiger sees Keijiro's sword on the ground and pretends that someone must have forgotten it, and it's now hers. Genzo and Shiger go for the salamander, and he quickly makes friends with him, calling him Yoshiko. He returns to the guild while carrying Yoshiko to claim the reward, and the guy at the desk, seeing him finish the quest, comments it wasn't for nothing that he was called Demon Beast Killer, but gets quickly punched by Genzo, telling him to not call him that. Elsewhere, Misha wants to go out and do something bad, but Wolfgang, remembering what Genzo did to him, decides it will be better for them to stay inside. At that moment, Genzo and Shiger enter, scaring Wolfgang. Shiger wants to meet Edgar to pay her debt, but since he is away, she leaves the monthly pay to Misha. At a castle, Hanako is looking at a magazine in the deserts and is featured. She is then called for dinner, where she is annoyed the meal is again goblin, troll, and orc meat, as she wants to eat some more delicious food. The next day, Genzo and Shiger head to the forest to complete a quest to conquer some soldier monkeys. As they meet them, Genzo manages to tame them with some apples. As he has already gathered lots of demon beasts, Genzo thinks of finding a safe place for them so that they won't be stolen. They then go to take on a new quest, and the highest paying one is about orcs. Seeing they are not animals, Genzo isn't excited, but since they are paid a lot, he agrees to do it. On the way, they encounter a unicorn, which Genzo names Mami. As they almost reach the orcs' village, Genzo tells Shiger to wait outside the village and decides to face them alone. Entering their village, he challenges the Orc King and drop kicks him from the start. Even though he is hit several times, Genzo is not injured in the slightest. He uses his wrestling skills and manages to defeat the Orc King. As the king is defeated, the other orcs announce him as the new king. On the next morning, he shakes hands with the Orc King, admits his prowess, and leaves the Orc King in charge. He goes on to tell the orcs to stay loyal to the king. Genzo and Shiger return to the guild and get enough money to buy a place to live. However, as he wants to run a business, he goes to get a loan from the government, but is shocked to learn that he needs to have 20% of the sum. In the meantime, Hanako has escaped her castle and is now drooling on a candy shop window. Genzo and Shiger now have a house, but it is full of cases and animals. She complains they don't have any more room, but Genzo tells her that's the sacrifice they need to make until the animals find their new master who will treat them. Since it is expensive to pay for all the food, Shiger goes to sell some swords and look at the quest board for some high-paying quests. Genzo hears Hirohuki barking, and as he checks in the bushes, he finds a girl, Hanako, passed out due to hunger. As she wakes up, she wonders where she is, and Genzo offers her some fish. She is surprised he isn't scared of her horns and introduces herself and says that she is half-dragon. As she is about to eat, she takes Hirohuki, but Genzo tells her he isn't the food, but the fish. As she eats the fish in an instant, she sees all the animals, and Genzo explains he is trying to start a pet shop, which she thinks is a restaurant as the salamander looks quite delicious to her. He then explains what a pet shop is, and she asks what demon beast Hirohuki is. Genzo says he's a mongrel, and Hanako asks if she could have it. She will love him and feed him, and as he gets big, she will eat him. Seeing her getting excited, Genzo quickly takes Hirohuki back. Genzo then opens the book with the beasts and asks her to read about the half-dragons. She quickly closes the book and leaves, saying she has something to do. Shiger then returns and smells a dragon. She scolds Genzo that he must have brought a dragon, even though they are basically broke. He tells her some half-dragon was there and just gave her some food. Shiger then takes Genzo to see the guild master to discuss a new high-paying quest. A guild member says a demon beast attacks people at night. The man then shows his neck, revealing a bite and saying he is sure it is a dragon. Genzo and Shiger head to investigate the scene, and Shiger smells the same dragon she smelled at home. Genzo then gets back and takes his animal mask and heads into town using a cage and pet food to trap her. As soon as he sets the trap, she gets caught in it. He wants to ask her something, but at that moment villagers see them and call him a pervert as he is naked and puts on a mask. After escaping from the villagers, Carmilla comes telling him to get away from Hanako. But while she keeps talking, Genzo and Hanako start throwing rocks at her. She then jumps and attacks Genzo, but he ends up defeating her. At their house, he takes off his mask and Hanako is surprised that the man is Genzo. Hanako then decides to tell him everything and starts saying her real name is Linda Bulia. Hanako explains she was from the Factor family. Learning that the Factor family is one of the 4 that served the Demon King, Shiger doesn't want to hear and know anything about Hanako. At that moment, Carmilla appears. She wonders where the masked person who defeated her is, but Hanako explains that they have nothing to do with this and she will return to the castle. Carmilla explains she needs to kill the humans as the information about the Factor family is top secret. Shiger then quickly gives Genzo holy water and tells her to use it against Carmilla. As he splashes it on her face, she falls to the ground in pain. Shiger then gives Genzo garlic to put in Carmilla's mouth, but then Hanako interrupts them, asking if they can forgive Carmilla and explains she is her servant who just was trying to return her home. Genzo asks Hanako why she ran. Hanako explains she wants to taste better food. She then tells Genzo she decides to help with the pet shop as she could be close to Hirohuki. Shiger tells her they still haven't started it, so they can afford to hire someone, but Hanako explains she doesn't need money as long as she has where to stay and has food. Later, they learn that Carmilla is the one attacking the people. At that moment, Genzo goes behind her and goes for a German suplex, knocking her out. Meanwhile, at the castle, since the incident with the heroes slammed her, Princess Altana has earned the nickname Princess Buttocks. She received news that the soldiers still can't find the hero. Shiger is annoyed, feeling she's the only one working. While Carmilla is sleeping, Hanako eating, and Genzo spending money on expensive food for the animals. Shiger goes to drink at the guild bar and complains that Genzo brought more mouths to feed. As she returns home, she sees Genzo giving food to a cat and asking it to stay and live with him forever. Miss Kobold comes and Genzo is all over her, telling her he wants to rub her. She tells him she is married with 20 kids. Klaus then comes, asking if they have the payment for the loan. But Genzo tells him they don't have the money. As all doesn't want to work, Klaus tells them in that case the loan is off. Hearing that, Genzo gets hyped and tells everyone to start working. Everyone starts working as hard as they can, but eventually, all except Shiger fails. Shiger speaks with the guild master and he offers them to do the griffin quest. Shiger shows the quest to Genzo and he instantly accepts it. While going for the griffin, Genzo learns that they give birth to 2 chicks and make them fight and keep only the winner. Soon after that, they meet 2 griffins and see 2 chicks fight. As one of them loses, Genzo rushes and takes the losing one. The 2 adult griffins then start chasing them. Carmilla tries to fight but gets easily defeated, but Genzo cares more about the baby griffin than Carmilla as she doesn't have a tail and animal ears, and he refuses to rescue her. Shiger tells Genzo to return the chick, but Genzo refuses as he will take care of it and raise it at home. The 2 adult griffins fly and surround them. Genzo and Hanako stay fighting them, while Shiger leaves with the baby griffin. As Genzo sees an opening, he jumps on the griffin and starts rubbing his head, but soon after that is slammed into a rock and knocked out. Hanako then cannot control herself as she wants to taste the griffin meat and goes on a bit one. But as she doesn't enjoy the taste, she grabs Carmilla and Genzo and runs away. At their house, Shiger is relieved that Hanako comes back with the others. As they didn't defeat the griffin, they didn't get the reward. Soon the baby griffin Kyoko grows big and Genzo is excited, while Shiger worries that it will be more money for food. Shiger goes to complain again at the bar, but is a bit happy as she has sold the legendary weapons she took from Hataage for a nice sum. Mao is in his room preparing for the big fight with Animal Mask. He is recalling how hard he was training in the past, but always losing to him. But this time he is sure he will beat him. While they fight in the ring, Animal Mask jumps from the top rope and disappears. Mao cannot understand what happened and the news blows up with the disappearance of Animal Mask. Mao speaks in front of the media, calling Animal Mask to come and fight him, and that he was a chicken nugget for running away from the fight, afraid he may lose. Mao then spends his days feeling sad and depressed, refusing to fight anyone else except Animal Mask. In the meantime, Genzo is looking at a new animal he named Masao. He wants to stay at its side until it wakes up, afraid that it may feel sad when there is no one. Shiger forces him to go do some work, leaving Hirohuki at the house. As they leave, Wolfgang and Misha are waiting for them to leave. Wolfgang plans they kidnap and sell Hirohuki so that he can get revenge for what Genzo did to him. He starts explaining his plan. He wants to lure Hirohuki with Meat and Misha to grab him, and they run. Genzo and the rest are on a quest, but cannot find the plant they were looking for. Genzo then says he has a bad feeling and wants to go back, but Shiger figures he is lying as he just isn't interested in the plant. At Edgar's place, Edgar comes back to see Misha and Wolfgang on the ground. He wonders what happened, and Misha explains they went with a plan to kidnap Hirohuki, but as they tricked it with the meat and he came looking at it at a close distance, Wolfgang found Hirohuki cute and started playing with him. Then G came out, and as Misha was faster, she managed to run, but G caught Wolfgang and did some things to him, which gave Wolfgang another trauma. In the forest, they hear a cry, and Shiger realizes that it is the Dredrada Gola they are looking for. As she points in the direction of the cry, Genzo goes running excited that they are demon beasts. Soon after, he is disappointed that they are talking plants. Shiger tries to convince him they are cute, but Genzo isn't getting tricked. He says that the Dredrada Gola is not cute at all. Money cannot move him as he only fights for one thing, namely his love for animals. As they argue, they realize they no longer hear the Dredrada Gola's voices and then see Hanako has eaten them all. When they return to the house, Jeek tells them that Hirohuki is almost kidnapped and draws a picture of Wolfgang and Misha. Genzo then storms to Edgar's place, saying he is willing to let them go since they are fluffy, but since they went after his partner, he won't forgive them and then beat Wolfgang. At the castle, Jonah has permission from the Demon King to summon a Demon King from another world to fight the hero that Altina had summoned. As she performs the summoning, Mao appears. She then introduces herself and wants him to help them defeat the hero that Altina had summoned. Rose shows him a poster of the hero, and Mao starts laughing, saying he found where Animal Mask is hiding. Jonah is surprised that Mao knows him, but Mao tells her there is more between them than just knowing each other. Joanna comments that with her hatred and Mao's hatred, the power of the dark side will grow, and this time she may crush her foe, Hanako. Joanna then recalls how she was training and was told she might win the next tournament, but at the tournament, she was easily defeated by Hanako. Joanna requested a rematch, but Hanako wanted to eat, so Joanna gave her lunch. After that, they fought again, but Joanna lost again and again. After that, Joanna got obsessed with Hanako and started observing her to learn how she got such strength. Years later at a party, Hanako wasn't able to recognize who Joanna was. Joanna then talked about Carmilla and that she was a lesser vampire, telling Hanako she could get a better servant, planning to send an elder vampire that would find Hanako's weakness, but Hanako declined the offer. Joanna then wanted her to face Rose, and if she would win, Joanna would accept Carmilla, and Hanako quickly accepted, as she wanted to go to the party and eat. As they met later at a quiet place, Rose and Carmilla started fighting. Carmilla put up a good fight but ended up losing. She then started clinging to Rose's skirt and pulling her, saying that he couldn't lose, while Rose was trying to hold her skirt, embarrassed, telling her to let go. Hanako then asked for the fight to stop, and Joanna told her she would arrange her a new, better elder vampire as a servant, but Hanako told her she still wanted to use Carmilla. Joanna then asked for Hanako to get on her knees, and to her surprise, Hanako did. Feeling like this was her first win over Hanako, Joanna left. While they were going back, the cart stopped, and Joanna and Rose went to see what was going on. They saw Hanako, who apologized for how useless Carmilla was, but she was trying to do everything for her. So she was thinking that Carmilla was someone precious to her and didn't want to lose her. Joanna thought that Hanako would want them to not reveal that Carmilla lost, but instead, Hanako took her clothes off and transformed into a dragon, challenging Joanna to a fight, while both Joanna and Rose were trembling in fear from what they were seeing, and Hanako ended up beating both. At present, Joanna says that Hanako had left her castle the moment the hero arrived, so she thinks that Hanako went after him to gain glory, and she wants to find and defeat the hero before her. Genzo tells Carmilla to get out of the soil and to work, but she wants to stay there and mournfully recover. She thinks she was useful during the last quest, but Genzo tells her she just went and got eaten instantly. Genzo gives up and decides to bury Carmilla with more soil. Stells enters the pet shop, saying she's a hunter looking for Genzo, and points at him, saying he is the demon beast killer. Genzo then does a quick chop to the head, taking her down, and then follows with a figure-4 leg lock, making her give up from pain and apologize. Carmilla feels Stellis' pain as she perfectly knows how painful his techniques are. Genzo asks her what she is doing there, and Cise introduces her again, saying that the guild master has told her Genzo is strong, so she wants to become his student, but Genzo refuses. Cise keeps insisting, saying she will repay him, even with her body if necessary, but Genzo still refuses, saying she can return when she looks like a kobold. She is a bit annoyed he finds her less attractive than a kobold and keeps insisting, but as Genzo is about to make another move and touch her stomach, she backs off, apologizing and saying she will return some other time. Genzo then stops her and lifts her shirt, seeing scales and realizing she is a lizardman. Cise then confirms that her ancestors are lizardmen and she has scales on her stomach and back. The girls quickly tell her to not show them, as Genzo's eyes are already looking at her dangerously. Genzo then tells her he will be taking her as a student. Genzo starts training her but is focusing only on the scale parts. The others also join in her training. He eventually decides she is well trained and gives her a mask, calling her Cise XXL. She accepts it, but then realizes she isn't looking for that and throws the mask. Then they ask her why she wants to learn from Genzo, and as she explains, Genzo gets angry and heads to the guild wanting to meet the master, or he will start executing the hunters there. As the hunters don't understand what is going on, they act casually but are picked one by Genzo. The rest of the hunters try to stop him as he is destroying the guild, but they are easily done by him too. The guild master eventually comes out wondering what is going on. As Genzo says to him that the hunters were harassing Cise, he explains they were just harassing and messing with her. Nothing naughty, which annoyed Genzo even more, but as he learns they weren't touching her stomach, he calms down. The guild master then learns of what happened and apologizes, and Cise says that she wanted to get strong, so she teaches them a lesson. But after learning from Genzo, she realizes that was something to not get angry about and has now attained a real strength, so she doesn't care about it anymore. The guild members then apologize to her. But Genzo isn't accepting that. He wants Cise as his student to fight them, but she refuses. However, Genzo keeps insisting, or he will execute them all. Wanting to test her strength after training with Genzo, Cise finally agrees. Cise starts fighting a guild member using everything she has learned. She eventually uses a sexy pose that Carmilla taught her, but that angers the guild member, who manages to make her lose one of her weapons. As they continue fighting, he raises his hands to slash her, and she uses that opportunity to get behind him and do a German suplex. As the fight ends, the fighters decide it is a tie and to do that again sometime, but Genzo isn't accepting it as he is angry that someone can abuse a demi-human and then get away with it with just an apology. As they walk back, Claus appears in front of them, and at their house, he proposes they hold a fighting tournament where Genzo can fight and they will pay him. As his muscles get excited, he accepts. Claus has prepared a ring following Genzo's instructions, and Genzo goes to check it. As he approves it, Claus and Shigeru are ready to start the tournament, but Genzo feels something is missing and realizes it is animals. Shigeru explains they can't have animals, but Genzo refuses to listen and insists. Claus then proposes they can use beastmen as wrestlers, and hearing that, Genzo realizes he can touch them as much as he wants while he wrestles them. Miss Kobold then appears, and Genzo goes to her and starts giving her compliments. Although he likes the compliment, Miss Kobold says she won't betray her husband. As she mentions her husband, Genzo gets an idea and tells her he will be going to her house. Miss Kobold thinks he is going to fight her husband to steal her and follows him too. As they go into her house, Mr. Kobold returns and sees Genzo staring at him. Genzo compliments Mr. Kobold, saying that he has a well-built body. Miss Kobold tells them to not fight over her, and hearing that Mr. Kobold realizes she is taking more time picking groceries, trimming her nails, and fixing her fur for him. They start fighting, and Genzo manages to beat him and then tells him he can become a good wrestler. As Mr. Kobold remembers his past, he decides to follow that dream again and goes with Genzo. Wolfgang refuses to leave their house as he can encounter Genzo. Misha tries calming him and says that they will stay away from Genzo so they won't meet him, but at that moment, Genzo shows up. Genzo asks Wolfgang to be a pro wrestler and to fight him, but hearing that, Wolfgang freaks even more and starts trembling in fear while refusing the offer. Seeing Wolfgang in fear, Misha asks Genzo if she can become a pro wrestler too. After looking at her tail and ears, Genzo agrees. As they leave, Genzo and Shigeru see orcs planting some flowers and trees as they want to help the town a bit. Returning home, he sees Carmilla drooling over Hanako's dress and Hanako eating the animal's food, so he decides to get them on the ring too. At the ring, Heat Haze isn't sure what a pro wrestler is, but with his new weapon, he is ready to take on the quest, but again is beaten by Genzo, and his weapon is taken by Shigeru. Genzo then proceeds and explains what pro wrestling is. After that, he lets them spar, but seeing them fighting, he isn't satisfied and explains the fights need to be entertaining. On the day of the tournament, Genzo is feeling tired as he spent all his time trying to teach them how to wrestle and even wrote scripts for the announcers. Hanako is excited about all the food chains, but seeing Shigeru having a stand but selling only merchandise, she is disappointed. As the match begins, Hanako is disqualified as she tries to eat the kobold and is put as a commentator, but is mostly commenting on what parts of the orcs are tasty. Genzo still isn't satisfied as it is missing the rivalries and drama. It is time for the main event, where Carmilla is partnered with Genzo as they will face Michi and Hataage. Genzo and Carmilla are about to execute a combo, but Carmilla accidentally hits Genzo and they start arguing. Michi and Hataage try to use the moment but are then countered by both Genzo and Carmilla. As they keep fighting, they are about to defeat them, when Michi sees Wolfing in the crowds. He is forced to replace Hataage and enters the ring. Michi gets excited, saying they will take their revenge, but as the match continues, she is easily beaten by Carmilla, while Wolfgang again ends up being molested by Genzo, and in the end, Genzo and Carmilla win. After the tournament, they went to a party at the guild. Claus tells them they made lots of money and Shigeru is happy, but then the vendors come asking for the money for the food, broken stands, the party, it's said, and they end up losing all the money they won, which makes Shigeru angry. Carmilla is enjoying her food when Genzo asks her to work, but she refuses as she is taking orders only from Hanako. He then tells her to walk Hirohuki, but as she refuses again, he does a wrestling move on her. She gives up and accepts. Genzo explains that Hirohuki is one of a kind in this world and is more expensive than her life, so she should call him Mr. Hirohuki. After the walk, she returns and complains that some children made fun of her and wants everyone to console her, but no one cares. Then Altina enters, finally finding where Genzo is, and says that he is the pervert who revealed her buttocks before all the nobility. Hearing that, Hanako and Carmilla immediately take him down, with Carmilla wanting to end his life. Shigeru then approaches, telling Genzo to turn himself in. Genzo keeps saying he didn't do that, as he has no idea who Altina is. He starts thinking, and in the end, realizes she is the one who summoned him, and he instantly goes and does another German suplex to her, again revealing her buttocks for everyone to see. While Joanna is traveling with Mao and Rose, she tells Mao that hero Genzo defeated a herd of griffins and made the orcs his slaves. They are then stopped by Ayukis, who want Joanna to pay a toll to pass around them. Mao decides to show them his power and goes and attacks Ayukis, defeating them with wrestling moves. Joanna is impressed by his power, while Rose is wondering what those strange techniques are. Joanna tries to act like she knows, saying they are assassination techniques from another world. Mao then sees a Hirohuki-looking creature and turns pale. Altina introduces herself and that she is the princess and has come for the hero. Carmilla cannot believe he is a hero, as he is just an animal-loving pervert. In the end, Altina says that he will come with her, as he needs to go on a journey to defeat the Demon King. Genzo wonders why he needs to do that, and Carmilla explains the hero is the strongest human, who murders all the demons, and Altina says that the Demon King is the leader of the demon beasts. Genzo then says he won't be defeating the Demon King, as if he is the leader of the demon beasts, then he can't fight him, and that he also needs to open his pet shop first. Genzo explains his goal is to make people in town accept animals as their family. Altina thinks Genzo has done something he shouldn't do. Knowing that she is not being able to summon another hero until the current hero dies, Altina has no other choice but to kill Genzo. She calls her guards to finish Genzo, but all of them are easily taken down by Genzo. He then goes to Altina and performs a rolling cradle on her, and again ends up revealing her buttocks to everyone. Altina insists on asking Genzo to defeat the Demon King, but ends up being humiliated all over again. Altina explains that since Genzo defeated her best mate, she has no other option but to keep asking him to defeat the Demon King. Later, Shigeru walks Genzo to the guild to figure out about the Demon King. Hataage again with a new weapon wants to join and help him kill the Demon King, but he ends up again knocked out and his weapon taken by Shigeru. Genzo tells them that the Demon King is all for him and the people start calling him a hero, which he corrects into calling him a wrestler. Genzo ends up not learning anything about the Demon King and comes home. Carmilla then goes to Genzo, saying she knows what the Demon King looks like. She starts telling him he has wings, 3 heads, and tentacles and shoots lasers from his eyes. Genzo then draws a picture from Carmilla's descriptions and gets excited about how the Demon King looks. Altina then comes, asking him again to defeat the Demon King, but Genzo shows a picture of him, saying he can't defeat that cute-looking Demon King. Altina explains that the Demon King's armies had summoned a Demon King from another world. Hearing that there are 2 Demon Kings now, Genzo starts wondering what the new one looks like. Mao then goes to the orcs' village and starts attacking the orcs, asking if they know the animal mask. Looking at his fight style, the orcs comment that his techniques look like Genzo's. The Orc King then appears, wondering what is going on. Mao asks for Genzo, as he wants to defeat him, but the Orc King refuses to say anything. Genzo then goes to see the Demon King's armies, but there is no trace of them. Shiger comments she can smell they passed recently. 2 orcs then see Genzo and head to him to inform him of the situation and how the Orc King lost. They head into the orc village to see what happened. The orcs explain the man wanted to know where to find Genzo, but the Orc King didn't reveal anything. Then one of the orcs shows a picture of the man who attacked them, and that he is Mao, Demon King from another world. The next day, as Genzo intends to walk Hirohuki, he starts to panic, realizing that Hirohuki is missing. Genzo walks around the town to search for Hirohuki. He encounters Miss Kobold and asks her if she knows Hirohuki. As he is informed that she didn't see him, Genzo immediately leaves her. Hanako and Carmilla search for Hirohuki at different places. Carmilla thinks they shouldn't have to look for him. Princess Altina also tries to help Genzo. She asks someone and mentions Hirohuki's features, but she cannot find anything and people mock her princess buttocks. Shiger uses her smell to locate Hirohuki's smell. She wonders if people kidnapped him with a cage and suspects the kidnapping is intentional. At that time, she meets Claus and explains about missing Hirohuki. Claus tells her he saw Hirohuki in a nobleman's manor. Without further ado, Genzo rushes to the nobleman's manor. The noble refuses to give Hirohuki to him as he bought the dog at a high price from a seller. Besides, Catherine has started to like Maria. Genzo is pissed off and tells him his dog is Hirohuki. The noble doesn't care about that because currently his name is Catherine and he is the pet he bought. Shiger tries to explain to the noble that Hirohuki is their puppy and they come to take it back. Hanako says that even though Hirohuki was kidnapped and sold, the nobleman is not at fault as he didn't know. Altina then says that she will buy Hirohuki. They are then shown the receipt and learn that Hirohuki was sold at a high price. At that moment, Maria shows up with Hirohuki. Genzo approaches to hug him, but Hirohuki goes to his bowl instead. Genzo cries as Hirohuki prefers food to himself. Altina rushes to return to the castle to get the money. He is determined to buy Hirohuki so that Genzo owes her a favor and he will obey her order to defeat the Demon King. Meanwhile, Genzo tells Shiger to go home as they don't have much money to buy Hirohuki back. While crying, Genzo bids farewell to Hirohuki. Maria asks if Hirohuki is his puppy and Genzo confirms that and tells her that Hirohuki is his family, which is always with him all the time. Maria expresses her intention to give Catherine back to him. She imagines if she raised Catherine since baby and lost him, she must be feeling sad. However, her father refuses to give Catherine back for free. He asks Genzo to pay him the cheapest price. Because he doesn't have any money, Genzo tells the others to go home. He thinks Maria is a good girl, and if Hirohuki lives with that noble family, he will definitely be happy. Genzo feels he has to let Maria have Hirohuki. Seeing Genzo sad, Shiger cannot help it and she takes out her savings, which she has collected secretly, and gives it to Genzo. They then return to the noble's house and give the money. Genzo then carries Hirohuki and says that Maria can visit him to play with Hirohuki anytime. Shiger then asks the person who sold Hirohuki to Maria's father. He then mentions their features and Genzo acknowledges Edgar, Misha, and Wolfgang. Without further ado, Genzo goes to meet them and teach them a lesson. As he returns home, Genzo sees 2 demon beasts standing in front of their house. Shiger suspects Genzo brought them home, but Hanako smells another scent from inside. As they open the door, they find Mao, Jonah, and Rose. Their Mao challenges Genzo to fight him. Claus suddenly appears and suggests that they hold a second tournament. The next day, Genzo practices hard as his opponent this time is Mao, so he cannot underestimate him. Carmilla goes to Genzo and states she must defeat Rose and wants him to teach her to be a professional wrestler. While Genzo is practicing with Carmilla, Claus, Shiger, and Hanako discuss the design of the stadium. Shiger gets excited as Claus explains the ticket for the VIP class will be sold 10 times the regular ticket. Hanako is also glad as she is informed there are many food stalls around the stadium. In the front yard, Carmilla is annoyed as Genzo only tells her to practice lifting weights. Genzo tells her she can't learn wrestling moves before she finishes the practice. Carmilla stops complaining and goes on practicing as she remembers she wants to win to protect Hanako. A few moments later, Shiger calls Genzo to discuss the match order in the stadium. As they need more players, Genzo and Shiger go to Edgar's place. Wolfgang freaks out as he sees Genzo. Meanwhile, Misha stands in front of Wolfgang and asks Genzo not to disturb them. Genzo then explains he wants Wolfgang and Misha to take part in the wrestling tournament. Wolfgang declines as he is still frightened. However, Shiger manages to convince Wolfgang by offering him high pay. Finally, the lineup for the match is completed. The next day, Hanako and Shiger distribute the tournament flyers to people and ask them all to come. Meanwhile, Cells, Hataage, Mr. Kobold, Carmilla, Altina, and also the Orc King are preparing themselves for the match. Finally, the day of the match comes. The ticket queue is full of visitors who are enthusiastic about watching the tournament. In the waiting room, Genzo encourages the participants, asking them to fight earnestly so that whatever the outcome, they will have no regrets. Klaus then fires up their spirits by telling them that the winner will get a prize, so they have to do their best. In the waiting room for female participants, Altina is embarrassed because she has to fight in revealing clothes. Meanwhile, Hanako sees Carmilla worried about her match. Hanako calms Carmilla and tells her that she doesn't need to fight for her sake. Not long after, the tournament is opened by an orc announcing the first matches to begin. The hero team consists of Cells, Altina, and also Hataage against an army of demonic beasts. Altina loses in that round, but Hataage and Cells manage to win. In the second match, the Orc King and Mr. Kobold also managed to defeat the Demon King's team, but in the next match, Misha and Wolfgang lose to the Demon King's army. The next match becomes even more heated between Rose and Carmilla. Even though Carmilla is overwhelmed by Rose at first, she manages to knock her out with the wrestling techniques taught by Genzo. However, it turns out that Rose is still able to stand, and because Carmilla is off guard, she falls helpless when Rose fights her back and defeats her. Genzo praises Carmilla even though she loses the match because is really great. Carmilla then comes down from the arena and apologizes to Hanako for failing to defeat Rose for the second time. Hanako considers her a winner and she's proud of Carmilla. Hanako also gives her the food she bought and makes her cry. In the final match, it is Mao and Animal Max's turn to enter the arena. Mao thinks about his defeat in all the matches against Animal Max and also the hard training he has gone through. He recalls the last match where Animal Max disappeared. Mao is shocked when he sees Animal Max attack him first. The two of them attack each other while discussing how they ended up stranded in that world. Mao slams Animal Max and is shocked when he finds Hirohuki barking next to him. Outside the arena, Shiger finds out that Mao is afraid of Hirohuki. Rose and Jonah also realize that Mao is afraid of cute animals. Not wanting Mao to lose, the two of them trap Hirohuki with food and arrest him. Genzo immediately jumps out of the arena and then chases the two of them who are running with Wolfgang and Misha. After successfully rescuing Hirohuki, Genzo asks Ji to look after his dog and returns to the arena. The fight becomes even fiercer when all the Demon King's armies and the hero team attack each other. They are busy fighting outside the ring while Mao and Animal Max attack each other in the arena. Mao jumps onto the rope and slams himself onto Animal Max. When Animal Max manages to stand up, he lunges at Mao and slams him with his signature wrestling technique. Mao is unable to move, so he has to accept his defeat from Animal Max for the umpteenth time and admits that he is no match for Animal Mask. As an animal lover, Animal Mask says he is fighting because he has something to protect. He then reaches out and helps Mao up and then tells him he will always be ready whenever Mao wants to fight him. The referee announces that Animal Mask is the winner. At that time, from behind his mask, Genzo sees how beautiful it will be if humans can coexist with animals. Shiger climbs into the ring and congratulates Genzo because the hero team manages to win. Klaus climbs into the ring and praises Genzo's match. He hands over the trophy and the prize money that Genzo will use to make his dream of opening a pet shop come true. After that, Klaus comes to Shiger to show the total amount she needs to pay for the damage caused by the wrestlers around the arena, the cost of Hanako's food, and also Carmilla's drinks. Shiger is furious because the two of them wasted the payment she should have earned. The next day at the guild, Genzo and the others gather to hold a victory party. He invites everyone, including the demon beasts, to have fun. Genzo hugs a frightened Wolfgang while Misha tries to save him. At another table, Mao is also enjoying his meal with other demon beasts. Shiger, who comes there, becomes angry because Genzo is wasting money, but when she sees the humans mingling with the demon beasts at the party, Shiger forgets her anger. The next day, Shiger takes the trophy Genzo got and sells it for money. Mao says goodbye to Genzo to start his new adventure. The guildmaster then comes to Genzo and tells him a minotaur appeared in the southern valley. When he is told of the large payment he will get if he succeeds in conquering this creature, Shigeru immediately becomes excited, as does Hanako, who drools at the thought of the taste of minotaur meat. Genzo agrees to take the job and then invites the others to go meet the minotaur, and the story ends here. This is the end of Hataage Kemono Michi Season 1. Thank you so much for staying in this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest contents. See you in the next video.